having a wonderful day. I am just coming on here. A little disclaimer. I'm going through bar prep right now. I graduated law school like 2 weeks ago. So I'm coming on here to take my mind off bar prep so I don't go insane. I'm still trying to read my books, like all those back there. And I've also been really getting into booktubers. So I decided that I would try to start a book YouTube video series of my own. I have been reading, I hated reading. I physically hated it when I was younger. I don't know if anyone remembers AR points. Those were the bane of my existence. I refused to read. I would click through the little quizzes in elementary school because I just didn't read the book. Hated reading. Thought it was a chore. Fast forward to probably high school. I had a couple friends that read a lot and I was like, okay, that's cool. It's different. Not like high schoolers now who it's all over TikTok and it's a big phenomenon. My first book that actually hooked me, I have it over there. The Women in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Swear to God, best book. Best book that got me out of my hesitancy and I guess you could call it a reading slump for however many years I didn't care to read. It is a thriller, which I'm not really big into thrillers anymore, but I used to be. So it definitely like got me back into reading. I was like, wait, this is reading? And then from there, I just started kind of trying to find my genre of books. I think I ventured, so I was first a thriller girl. Then I think I found my first romance book and I was like, oh, this is enjoyable. I don't know what it was. It might have been Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is not fully a romance book, but it is in a sort. Definitely was like, oh my God, I love this genre. So I kept reading that genre and now, okay, everyone's gonna know why I'm now into fantasy. I picked up ACOTAR and I'm fully obsessed with it. I am on the last book. I think I'm halfway through the last book. Love it. I bought the Crescent City series that she just came out with, or the second one just came out. I haven't read it all yet. So I'm trying to get through ACOTAR series. Already have the Crescent City series. Love fantasy now. So many other series I want to get into that I've heard everyone loves. But anyways, let's actually get into the books before I get into the books, I just wanted to say a couple things about myself because I feel like I've been talking about books and you don't know who I am. You're like, who is this girl? She's just talking about books. There's millions of others on the internet. This is Cosmo. This is my little buns. I think he's like almost 2. He'll be 2 in January. I got him a year and a half ago. Fun, maybe poor fact. He's deaf. He can't hear anything. But I figured that out very fast. So he's well taken care of. So yeah, he's also gonna be in these videos a lot. He was just sleeping, so I think he's pretty mad at me right now, and I'm probably gonna have hair all over my black shirt. But I just want to introduce you guys to Cosmo before I continue on with this video. Okay guys, I'm back with the books behind me, and I also have my Goodreads because I'm trying to figure out, I want to remind myself the order in which I read them, and I also read some on Kindle, so I want to talk about those too. Okay, so let's start with the Kindle books because I think I'll just go in order because that might help. So I told you I started this year off with some romance novels. So these might be a little less popular than like the normal TikTok reads. But I started my year off with The Stopover, which is a series by T.L. Swan. It's the first book in the series. It is very heavy romance. It's romance, but not like, it's romance. Then I read, Ali Hazelwood. I think it's my not hatred, my lack of love for hard science, because I was a political science major in college. My lack of love for hard science really got in the way for me loving this book because I just didn't really care for the science part, and I think that's what turned me off, like the scenes of like them in the lab. This is not for me. I get why people love this book. I get it. I see why it went viral. After The Love Hypothesis, I read The Takeover, which is the second book in the Miles High Club series that I just talked about. It's romance on Kindle. I think I read a lot of these books because I had Kindle Unlimited in the beginning of the year, and then I had like a 6 months free trial period, so I read a lot of these Kindle books, and then I got back into hardback, so we'll get there. And then I read, oh yes, okay, then I got into some Colleen Hoover. I love Coho, she's my favorite. I do have a favorite though, and it's not very popular for some odd reason. But I read Reminders of Him. It pulled at my heartstrings when I tell you, oh my god, I loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. But she is such a good, some people don't like Colleen Hoover. I love me some Colleen Hoover. I think all of her books are pretty different, like, except for maybe a couple of them. She's good at, like, being diverse in, like, her romances or her just fiction novels, and I really like that about her. I think some people or some authors are very, like, they write this type of romance and that's it. And I think Colleen Hoover doesn't do that, but I guess some people don't think the way I think about her, but I love her. Then I read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover, which I think was so different than the Reminders of Him book, which is, I love them both. I gave them both 5 stars. And then I read The Casanova, which is the 3rd series in the Mile High Club, which was really good. I think I gave them all 5 stars. After The Casanova was my favorite Coho book. I'm sorry, I read a lot of Colleen Hoover this year. Probably not next year. I feel like I've read every single one of her books. So yeah, my next book I loved. My favorite Colleen Hoover book of all time is Heartbones. And I know it's very, like, underrated. No one really talks about it. I am obsessed with that book. I don't know what it was. It just, like, there was a little bit of law involved, just a little bit of law. And I think I just, like, kind of grasped at that. And I was like, I love this book. I don't know what the trope is called, but I think I like when 2 of the people are kind of struggling and broken, and then they help each other. I don't know what that is called. That's one of my favorite tropes. Okay, then I read, which this went viral on TikTok, and I think that's probably why I read it, Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I gave it 5 stars because I just loved everything about it. I feel like I've heard a lot of reviews saying it was too long or they could have done without some parts, and I feel like I didn't feel that way. I really enjoyed it. I know it was like, let's see how many pages it was. It was 572 pages, but like I feel like every page was needed. Maybe I will refine my taste with more books, but because that's a pretty unpopular opinion for this book, but I enjoyed it. And it was a Grumpy Sunshine book, so if you're not into that, you probably won't like it. And then I read, that was by Lucy Score, and I also read By a Thread by Lucy Score. To be honest, it was kind of similar to Things We Never Got Over, and so I gave it 4 stars because I felt like what I was talking about earlier, like some authors, sometimes they find what works and then they stick to it. I think that's what happened in the situation. She found that, well, let me not speak for her, but I feel like it was very similar. Maybe it was because I read them back to back. That's probably on me. And then I read another Colleen Hoover book. You guys are gonna hate me. Click off this video if you don't like Colleen Hoover. I read Hopeless on my Kindle. Sorry, I have like none of the books in front of me. And I gave that 5 stars. I thought it was different. Like I'm saying, this is like a Colleen Hoover fan video. Like I said, I swear she just knows how to write differently each time she picks up a pencil, We are in the 21st century. Every time she starts typing, she writes a different type of story, and I just love it. Okay, so after Hopeless, I read Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. That is also a thick book. Let me tell you how many pages is in there. 712 pages. That is a big book, but it was really good. It was very different than what I anticipated. The front, or at least the cover, I know there's like a pink cover with like a black heart. The cover I got was very, if you read romance books on the Kindle, you know what you thought when you saw this book. I read the book, really, and I'm like, whoa, this is so different than what I anticipated. I mean, I was just like blown away. Some of it though, I could have done without. I will be the critic that says 700 pages, 712 pages was way too long. I feel like the character development was kind of halted in some spots where it could have just been cut out. Like there was extra stuff that was not necessary. I think it dragged on too long, so I gave it 3 stars. But it was a good book. I think trigger warning though. Okay. So after Darling Venom, I read Never Never by Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover wrote this with Taryn Fisher, so it was like a co-authors. I gave it 4 stars. To be honest, I don't remember it. Oh my god, I remember this now. This was so good. Oh my god. It's all coming back to me. Oh my god, you guys have to read this book. Okay, so one of the characters loses their memory, and it's the memory about their relationship and their friendship and everything. And yeah, they're helping each other uncover the truth on why their memory was, like, her memory was washed away. Anyways, it was really good. A couple of places I was like, is this like a little bit of fantasy? That's probably too bold of a statement. Not fantasy, but a little bit far-fetched. And I was like, interesting for Colleen Hoover. She doesn't really dive into that world. Then I read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. And you guys are gonna hate me because I'm not a fan of her writing at all. I did not care for it, but I did give this 4 stars because All Roads Lead Here was really good, but it was also another Grumpy Sunshine, and I kind of like Grumpy Sunshine if it's done right, and I think it was done right here. So I liked the premise of the book. I don't know what it is about her writing. She's known in like the book community of being a slow burn romance, and I'm not a fan of slow burns at all. Get me to the point. So the next book I read was The Infinity Between Us. I gave that 3 stars. I thought it was great. It was like one of those summer romances that just gets you like out of life for a second. You pick it up, you're done with it. It was like very short, but it was really good. I would recommend it as a romance. Okay, we're on to the hard books, or the paperback books. The in-person books. They are here. Sorry, my mother is Italian, so this is coming out right now. Excited. Okay, so next I read Malibu Rising. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just not a big fan of how she writes. Anyone who reads this book knows how many points of view are in this book. I could not keep up at the end. I didn't know who was talking about what. I was not a fan. I also thought it didn't end well. I don't know. I like when books end with a little pretty bow wrapped up and the story just warms my heart. This didn't really give me that warm feeling, and maybe that's just because I love a good romance, and this was not a traditional anything. This was something I've never really read before. I give it 3 stars. I'm an Emily Henry lover. I mean, she's up there with Colleen Hoover for me. But that's just because she gives me that warm and fuzzy feeling. I love a good, just a wholesome romance, and I feel like she does that. But nothing. I gave this book 3 stars because nothing will top Beach Read. Beach Read, like I said, was probably the first kind of romance I read, and I think it just kind of was a 5-star read for me no matter what. So I think none of her books have lived up to that, but it was still good. It just wasn't Beach Read. But okay, I did this to myself. After People We Meet on Vacation, I decided to read Book Lovers by Emily Henry again. Now, I feel like this one was a little better. I think I probably gave it I gave it 5 stars. Okay, give it 5 stars. It wasn't Beach Read, so I don't know why I did that, but it was really good. I just thought there wasn't enough book in Book Lovers, and I think that's why it's a 5-star read. I just didn't put it up there with Beach Read in my head. I feel like Beach Read should have gotten 6 stars. Okay, next I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I gave this one 5 stars because it was just a wholesome summer romance. So the next book I read was because I was in a book club. We read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. It just came out at the time, so I never heard anything about it. I never heard anything on TikTok really, but it's a thriller. This book is hard to describe. it's like, it goes back in time and forward in time, and I feel like I can't even tell you anything about it because then it would spoil it, but it's just like, it's great. I gave it 4 stars just because I'm not a big thriller reader anymore. A lot of twists and turns. Very good book club read. If you guys are in book clubs, choose this as like a good like October, September, maybe November read for fall. It was great. Very good thriller. Okay, so at this point in my reading journey, it was October. So I read what anyone would read in October, a scary October novel. It's called The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, and I gave this book 3 stars because when I picked this up, I did not expect anything that is written in these pages. Not one bit. It is about a vampire that is moving into the neighborhood, and these moms in this book club kind of invite him into their circle, and like then he starts acting funny to one of the moms, and then he makes all of them sound crazy basically. Anyways, this is graphic and gory. Trigger warning, graphic warning, nightmare warning. Just beware. I gave it 3 stars, but if you like horror books, I feel like you'd love this. At this point, it was like still October when I read the next book, and this is the last, oh no, it's not. I keep saying that. This is the second to last Colleen Hoover book I've read this year, which was Layla by Colleen Hoover. And this is one of her older books, but I hadn't read it and it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I was like, oh, gotta scoop that up. Anyways, I gave it 3 stars. I kind of almost DNF'd it, but not for the reasons that it was bad. For the reasons that I thought I knew where the story was going, and that's not where it went at all. I think coming off of this did not help because I was like, I had really bad thoughts of like what Layla would be, and it was not. It was a great book. I gave it 3 stars because I was just not, I don't know. I think it was just tainted by the book I read before it. So we've gotten to the last couple books of the year, and you guys already know what they are. We've got ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Number 1. I was obsessed. So I bought number 2, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. This was probably the best book, except for I feel like people don't give the third one enough credit. And I know, shout out to Haley Pham, because this is her favorite book. This one is A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one is more about war. This one is more about the romance between them. And I guess I heard so many bad things about this one that I went into it with like kind of weariness, but I was like, this is really good. This one was also a little bit better. Just a little bit. I enjoyed this one a little more. And then this one, I think you can't really top this because it's the first one, so it's like world building and all this stuff, and I feel like it's just like the classic of them. So I read these 3 were the first. I think they were meant to be a trilogy. And then I guess it got popular. And so Sarah J. Maas came out with like a 3.1 or 3.5, whatever you want to call it. No, it's like a novella, and it's called A Court of Frost and Starlight. And I also heard bad things about this one, but it's short and it has a point. It's trying to open up other storylines, and I think it did a good job. I don't know why people are like shitting on this one. I gave these 5 stars and this 4 stars. I'm reading A Court of Silver Flames. So I am 300 pages in, and this probably won't be done by the end of the year because I have so much to do. But I love it so far. It's totally different than the other ones, and I could see why after the novella, why it kind of went into this storyline, but I love it so far. So also, one more book I forgot. After I read the first 3, I wanted to cleanse my palate a little bit. It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. Last Colleen Hoover book. I'm sorry, I'm ending it with a bang. Sorry, guys. However, this was not as good as It Ends With Us. Okay? I loved it. It Ends With Us. Trigger warning on both of these books. But I feel like this was just written because this got popular. I feel like this could have been left at a standalone. And I know everyone wanted to see what happened to Atlas, but I feel like it was even better if you just left it to your imagination. I don't know. I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed this one way more. I think this gave this one 4 stars. I did not read this year. This was a 5-star read though. Those are all the books I read this year. I'm hoping to read more next year. My main goal is to make this a book YouTube or a booktube, or if you guys want to see that, like this video. Also, give me recommendations. I just graduated law school. I'm taking the bar. If you guys want any information on that, I would be more than happy to talk about it. And also, if you guys want videos on owning a bunny rabbit, as you've seen, I own one earlier in this video. That's a whole different ball game in itself. I can do videos on that. I can do videos on anything. I will link my social medias below. You can follow me there. Even comment below stuff you want to see. Yeah. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please recommend more books for me to read next year. This year kind of opened me up to a lot of genres that I haven't really read or been open to read. And now that I know that I'm kind of enjoying all of them, recommend me some more. Recommend me some books, recommend me some genres, recommend me some authors, recommend me some series. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm gonna go head back to bar prep now, so I will see you guys next time.